Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one is going to be my review for volume 49 of the manga, which is called The Gokage Summit Commences. So yeah, we're starting these again after about a month break I took off at the start of the year from doing these, but we'll get back into them now in detail. So we cover another 10 chapters here, 454 to 463. Enter the Gokage, links, Naruto heads out, the Gokage Summit Commences, the Great Gokage Debate, Sakura's Resolve, Trapping Sasuke, Kumogakure versus Taka, Sasuke's Shinobi Way, and Sasuke versus Raikage. So overall, pretty good volume. Wouldn't say it was absolutely amazing, but the 5 Kage Summit arc is always a very interesting one for me in that there's a lot of little things going on and then a couple of big things going on. So there's a lot of stuff that's to deal with in the series at this point in time. Big and small, like with characters' feelings, as well as the wider, start of the war kind of stuff coming into play. And you kind of get that here. You get the kind of transition from where the series was, dealing with the aftermath of the victory over pain, transitioning into basically the start of the war arc and kind of the shinobi villages being united. But we kind of get there through kind of Sasuke's big moment of properly, I suppose, coming out as a villain to everyone with his attack on the Gokage Summit. So there's I suppose quickly to highlight a lot of the key points here. We're introduced to all of the Kage. Of course, we know most of them, but we meet the other ones. So, like, we've obviously seen the Raikage a little bit before. We meet the Tsuchikage as well as the Mizukage for the first time, though, and they're interesting. And you get a lot of little kind of dynamics going on when they actually are at the summit, and that Gaara as the new Kazekage, who hasn't been in his role for overly long, you get to see how he kind of acts in his first big moment as a leader representing himself to the rest of the leaders. You get, the Tsuchikage kind of playing the role as the kind of oldest member of the group, who is kind of known for kind of being very kind of over the years just has a reputation for being the kind of fence sitter, not making a lot of stuff happen, but also doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that doesn't really help. The Raikage is the overly aggressive one, who's saying a lot of things but is overreacting to a lot of things as well, even though he comes across as the most commanding and powerful. The Mizukage, is relatively reasonable, but she has the worst kind of history of her nation, in that the origin of the Akatsuki is kind of with her nation. The whole issue of what happened with the previous Mizukage and him kind of being controlled just means that there's too many questions about kind of her nation for her to have too much sway within the group. So it ends up being a case where it's between the Raikage and Danzo as the new Hokage to who's gonna come across as the leader between all of these kind of characters. And as it's like the Gokage is like the main plot focus of this book, like what ends up happening, as you see, the cover actually represents that quite well. Pretty nice cover. That Danzo's plan is to use his right eye, which is revealed to be Shisui's eye, which he stole from him, to basically control everyone. It's this really subtle way for him to get people on his side and use that eye to basically have Mifune, the leader of the samurai in the Land of Iron, as the kind of neutral in the kind of room, kind of moderating everything, him to side with Danzo and kind of make him the leader of this alliance of shinobi forces. So Danzo can effectively be the leader of the shinobi world from his position of darkness, having manipulated it to that point. I like as the kind of reveals come out, as the Mizukage's kind of bodyguard with the Byakugan kind of comes out and says that, like, no, this is Shisui, I fought him before, that is his eye, and this is what his eye's power is. He explains that. And at this point in time it kind of comes out and everyone's just kind of like, we don't kind of get why you felt the need to do this. Like, you had a chance to be chosen as the leader. Why didn't you trust anyone enough? This kind of highlights the thing with Danzo, in that I think Danzo is a fascinating and really interesting character. He just completely embraces the fact that he is that guy who is willing to sit in the shadows and do all of the bad things while there are other people who he doesn't agree with in charge. But he's making his move now to be that open person in charge, but do things his way, the way he feels they need to be done. The problem with that, though, is that he has lost, he's kind of lost sight of the fact that sometimes things can be done in a way where you can still be in the light. That he went into this whole thing thinking that, okay, all the nations have their own interests at heart, they will never agree to kind of form the things that we need to do to kind of help the world, so I'm going to do this in an evil way by kind of controlling everyone to get the power, whereas it actually seemed like they inevitably, after a conversation, they kind of would have come to a conclusion about what would have needed to be done anyway without Danzo needing to control the situation. It was just his lack of faith in people being able to understand each other and kind of get on the same terms that was kind of what created the issue here. That, like, as we are building up to ultimately his fight with Sasuke and his inevitable death, this is what he was missing in the end. That he was unable to realize that sometimes things happening in a good way, doing things in the Hiruzen Sarutobi way, the person he was always kind of like opposed to, but always had this kind of somewhat friendship, somewhat rivalry with, that Sarutobi's way was occasionally correct, and that it led to better things overall than trying to force it in the way that Danzo did. I like the complexities that Danzo has in terms of what he did, and obviously stealing like the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, having such a big role within what happened to the Uchiha, and kind of in many ways forcing everyone's hand with how they dealt with the Uchiha. But in some ways, you know, like, he was kind of correct with that situation, but here he's obviously kind of wrong. So where we eventually get to with this is that they more or less agree to form the allied shinobi forces to combat the Akatsuki. They argue about like how Inoki as the Tsuchikage shouldn't lead because he has used the Akatsuki before. They make the point that the Raikage isn't suited to be the leader because he's too emotional. He lets his anger get the better of him too many times. Inevitably what happens is that the Akatsuki attack at this point in time. We see White Zetsu come in. He reveals that Sasuke is attacking the Gokage Summit, and we just get the initial kind of squaring off of basically Team Taka versus the kind of basically just the Raikage and his forces, but as there's kind of a kind of showdown as like the guy with the Byakugan is kind of keeping Danzo where he is, and the Leaf Village representatives there aren't really being trusted at this point in time. So there's a lot of little things kind of happening at this point in time in this kind of scene of just everyone squaring off against each other. It eventually gets to the stage where it's Sasuke versus the Raikage, and Sasuke gets a solid hit in, but it doesn't do much damage. It appears that the Raikage just, like, was it Liger bombs Sasuke to death, but he uses his Susanoo to block most of the impact, and the fight is still on. And we just end with this idea that Sasuke is using his Susanoo kind of with Amaterasu flames all around it, and the Raikage is willing to sacrifice one of his arms to get a massive kind of lariat hit in on Sasuke, and everyone's aware that he's basically sacrificing an arm to do this, just to take out Sasuke. And it's impactful because the whole lead up in the early chapters of this volume are about Sasuke. Naruto kind of pleading with the Raikage and also Karui and Omoi to kind of not take revenge against Sasuke and not continue the cycle of hatred. And here is the Raikage basically going so overboard to attack Sasuke here, willing to lose an arm for the sake of this. And that's just where we ended. Obviously, we don't know how the fight is. We don't know how injured Sasuke is going to be after this attack. How badly injured the Raikage is going to be as we go into the next volume, we don't know for sure. But very interesting way to do this. But let's cover some of the other stuff that happens here. Like let's cover the Naruto kind of plot. And it's a really interesting one in that, yes, as I said there, the primary gist of it is that you get the reveal that Sarui's group is there to find information about what's happening with the Leaf Village and about Sasuke, basically. And they have to report back that he's not there, and Naruto's not going to tell them anything about Sasuke, so he lets Karui beat him up completely. And he won't let anyone get in the way until Sai eventually chooses to step in and stop Naruto from getting beaten up for the sake of Sasuke. And it's at this point we get an interesting Sai arc within the series. I actually like how they do use Sai throughout this, in that he realizes at this point in time that like Naruto is really suffering on behalf of Sasuke. That his devotion to kind of getting Sasuke back is becoming a problem now in terms of he is a hero and extremely valuable part of the Leaf Village. And he's kind of devoting everything to Sasuke, who is kind of giving Naruto nothing back in return. And he sees this very clearly as he's kind of beginning to become in touch with his emotions. He's asking like Kakashi about this sort of thing, and like why does he do this? And I suppose Kakashi points out to Naruto the fact that like what Sasuke is doing for what Naruto is doing for Sasuke, it's just kind of like what you're doing for Naruto here. You are concerned for him, and even though he doesn't want you to do this, you're still willing to go through these things that you never thought you could for his sake. That kind of shows you, but Sasuke and Naruto's relationship is kind of more to an extreme. And he realizes ultimately that part of why Naruto is doing what he's doing is because of the pledge that he made to Sakura all those years ago. That he's obviously heard about this, and he basically points out to Sakura when he goes to talk to her that it has effectively become a curse mark for Naruto. That he is suffering so much because of that curse that you kind of put on him. And now, obviously, the wording on that is kind of like a little bit overly harsh on Sai, and that he's perhaps kind of trying to kind of say to Sakura, why have you never told him to give up on this since then? You're always kind of supporting it, and you want to get Sasuke back yourself, but why are you never telling him to kind of calm down with how far he is going for Sasuke's sake? And you get a lot of emotion from Sakura in this volume as she has to kind of come to terms with this, that in a way she has been putting everything about Sasuke onto Naruto. She is doing her best to try and get him back as well, but she is aware that like how much her asking him to get Sasuke back for her is doing as well. But obviously we know, and to some extent they all know, that Naruto is doing this for himself as well. He wants Sasuke back as his friend, but another thing that adds to that is that he's doing it to help Sakura, because Naruto is aware of how Sakura feels about Sasuke. And even though he admits to Sai that he does really like Sakura, he can't ever say that to her because what he's doing trying to get Sasuke back is him basically saying, I know that she doesn't feel this way about me, but she feels this way about him. So I'm getting him back for her, and that's kind of my way of being a close friend to her. That he can't ever kind of tell Sakura how he feels. And in the end, I kind of like how it comes down to the fact of like Shikamaru and all of the other rookies basically are kind of class of teams that we know of from before. They all decide that they have to do something to basically stop Sasuke. Shikamaru is going to lead them, and they have to get what's left of Team 7 on board. Naruto's already gone, so they have to get Sakura on board. And she's basically made her mind up at this point in time that like, I have to do this. And it's clear that she's going to use the fact that she knows Naruto likes her to try and like turn Naruto around, because their idea is that like they think Naruto could effectively start a war with the Hidden Cloud Village, between the Hidden Cloud Village and the Leaf Village, if he pushes this too far, and they have to stop him before that happens. And Sakura is going to speak to Naruto, and that's going to be a very important conversation, because she's just been told very clearly by Sai, Naruto likes you, and he's doing everything to get Sasuke back for you. So much of this is on you. You now have to do something to try and stop him. And that's interesting. I know a lot of people don't like the arc and where they actually go with it in the next volume and anime episodes if you've seen it that way. I like it, and obviously when we get to it in the next volume, I'll address it and explain why I like it so much. But anyway, we'll continue. So the other thing is obviously that before Sakura can catch up to them, obviously Yamato and Kakashi have gone with Naruto to confront the Raikage. And after he leaves, Naruto's obviously very upset. He's thinking about Sasuke and how much kind of he's been through just trying to get Sasuke back. When Tobi, or Madara as we know him as now, arrives basically willing to just tell Naruto the story of Sasuke. So off-panel, what basically effectively has happened is that he recounts the same story that he told to Sasuke to Naruto. So Naruto now knows the impact of Itachi's story and his interpretation of it, and they now know that Sasuke chose to interpret that story in such a way as to take vengeance on the Leaf Village and not side with Itachi's kind of vision on things. And this idea that we're left with is that Sasuke has specifically chosen, even after finding out all these specific details about how much Itachi did for the Leaf Village to protect them, he is still willing to go against them because of his own choice. He also tells them, very importantly, the basic story of the Sage of Six Paths and what has started the cycle of hatred that basically consisted up to now. And it comes down to the Sage of Six Paths and his two children, and him choosing the child who basically was more for love as being necessary for peace versus strength as being necessary for peace, whereas the older one, who was more stronger, more skilled, would have been the more suited leader, but he chose the one who had the better ideals. And that has started this war, this idea of this reincarnation of these two people, Indra and Ashura, who have persisted up until now. Madara and Hashirama were one, and the modern day reincarnations of these people are Naruto and Sasuke. And they represent, in a way, the kind of cycle of hatred that's consisted up until now. Naruto is always about friendship, love and peace. Sasuke has been driven by vengeance up to now. And it's very fitting how they're kind of thematically bringing this all together. And it's an interesting that this is the volume where that's first properly brought up, the whole idea of Indra and Ashura. But just that's how kind of Toby leaves them with that information. And how is Naruto going to tackle things now that he knows that Sasuke has made a specific decision, knowing that Itachi, the person who he had vengeance against all this time, had good intentions at heart? Where does he take it from now? So yeah, I'm pretty much going to end the video there. Not much else to cover in the volume. There's a nice moment as Naruto leaves to confront the Raikage where he talks to Konohamaru. That's a nice moment, just showing that that kind of relationship is continuing. Kakashi sees that Naruto is becoming a mentor himself and is very happy about that. That was well done. But yeah, just overall, I like the Sai stuff, the Sakura stuff. A lot of the stuff with the Kages talking was interesting. We're still waiting for the art to properly kick into gear. Like, I think the fights have kicked off now, and next volume should be really, really good. But yeah, I'm going to end the Volume 49 review there, and just say that links to my Twitter, Tumblr, Patreon campaign, and PayPal donation link are all in the description below. But thanks for watching this video, and bye.